Assalamualaikum and very good day I wish to all of you. Welcome to our forum. My name is Muhammad Abdul Shakur bin Abdul Rahman as your moderator for today. As we can see, nowadays the generation does not show much interest and passion in practicing the Malaysian traditional art such as batik painting. So for today, we will highlight on how we can promote this heritage among the new generation. We will discuss this topic by sharing beneficial and interesting idea and thought which will be delivered by our guests. I am sure that every one of us have our own opinion and thought with this topic. And before we proceed our forum, I would like to introduce our panelists today. Our first panelist is Miss Aishah, head of the fashion textile course. How are you, Miss?
Thank you for asking. I'm good, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, great. Next, we have Sir RIFDI. He is teach in the Fonsi as an art teacher. And the last one, we have Sir SYAFIQ. He was a representative from the traditional Malaysian Art, Heritage and Craft Association, University Malaysia Kelantan. Before we start our forum in details, let me explain about batik painting. Malaysia batik painting, Malaysia batik is batik textile art in Malaysia, especially on the east coast of Malaysia, which is Kelantan, Terengganu and Pahang. The most popular motif are leaves and flowers. Malaysian batik depicting humans or animals are rare because Islam norms forbid animal image as decoration. Malaysian batik is also famous for its geometrical design such as spirals. The method of Malaysian batik making is also quite different from those of Indonesian Japanese batik. The pattern is larger and simpler. The colours also tend to be lighter and more vibrant than the deep colored Javanese batik. Batik painting should be appreciated for its aesthetic and artistic value. However, we can see younger generations' interest in this cultural heritage is decreasing. Without wasting time, let's ask the first question to Miss Aishah. Miss, why do you think that this cultural heritage is still important or relevant to the younger generation? Can you explain?
Right, good question, Mr. Moderator. Why I think batik painting is still important or relevant to the younger generation is because a lot of benefit they can get from the skills, such as in business. For example, young generation can generate their own income by using batik painting skills. Um, Also, a lot of knowledge and skills can be obtained from making batik. To be specific, a youngster can learn to experiment with color, design, and be educated about the craft process of using chanting and wax to create intricate designs. Moreover, there are many ways to make it trendy to attract people to love it. The younger generation needs to appreciate and be proud of the material and designs of batik, and why this batik painting is still important to younger generation is also because batik is which are the part of our rich culture and heritage. That's all, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, Miss Aishah. So let's move to Sir Rifdi. How about you, sir?
Okay, thanks to moderator. I believe this is the case because batik printing has been practiced up until this point. Something the younger generation can be proud of because according to the history of batik introduced by generation of ancestors who use traditional technique in the production of this batik. Batik printing is the identity of the nation itself. Rather than using a digital device, you can accomplish this by using your own energy to create an intriguing batik pattern. This is also because every pattern and kind of batik print is created using a unique combination of intriguing colors, giving each print its own history. In order to further fortify the national identity and save this legacy culture from being lost this time. Young people today must study this as well. That's all.
Okay, thank you, sir. What can you, sir? What can you say, Sir Shafiq? Is this the important or relevant to the younger generation?
Okay, for me, yes, because through a variety of style design processes, batik is an art form or created. This is great. The national art form of Malaysia is now as batik, and it is regarded as a national treasure. The World Asia Pacific craft country named Malaysia Batik as one of the most well-known regional craft in the world. That's all.
Thank you, Sir Shafiq. That was the good point to be said. From all the opinion, now we know how important to keep this heritage for the younger generation. Okay, now we will move to the second question. Sir Rifdi, how can we cultivate the interest of the younger generation to preserve this cultural heritage? What are the measures that can be taken?
Okay, thanks to Mr. Moderator. That was a good question. In my opinion, diversify that was of learning in school, especially the subject of history. Next, make an exhibition about the heritage of Malay art to reveal knowledge to today's young people. In addition to that, increasing the number of traditional Malay arts class for young children to learn the basic of making batik through theoretical and practical learning of how to make it, which is to give young people to opportunity to make their own batik product. In additional, apply batik closing day on certain day to younger generation. For example, civil servant today are required to wear batik closes on Tuesday, and the same can apply to student on certain day, such six to student from six student who also need to wear batik closes on school Thursday. That's all.
Thank you, sir. I also agree with your point. How about you, Sir Shafiq? What do you think about it?
Okay, thank you for Mr. Abdan, to Mr. Abdan. Okay, by beginning to use batik clothes as a symbol of support national culture, we may show our love for our country by taking a step. We help preserve culture by employing batik. As we can see, the use of batik is occasionally highly flexible. As a Malaysian, we should be enamored and proud of our country culture diversity, so that so that might endure and be transmitted to the following generation. The next generation must thus contribute to the preservation of the batik tradition. That's all.
Thank you, Sir Shafiq. So, Miss Aishah, anything you want to add to support SYAFIQ?
Yes, of course. According to my personal opinion, I think young generation should be introduced about batik since at a young age. The children will learn to appreciate it. It is because we cannot expect young generation to fall in love with batik all of a sudden in their teenage years, because everything needs process. That is why we need to reveal the batik to people since childhood. I think the government needs to consider batik be incorporated in schools so that it becomes part of child's growing years. I believe that can attract interest and teach a younger generation to perceive our culture heritage. That's all.
Thank you for the brilliant idea, Miss. For the island question, I want to ask Sir Shafiq, what do you think about the impact of this cultural heritage to the economy and to the tourism sector in our country?
Okay, thank you again for our moderator. Okay, for me, with the increase in the manufacture batik of batik print in Malaysia, it is can increase the country income as well as can increase the rate of foreign tourists in our country. This is because batik print are a focus item for outsider because of the uniqueness and the beauty of the batik. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. How about you, Miss Aishah?
Alright, I would like to talk about the sector of batik printing first. Based on the number of batik entrepreneurs around, we can assume that the sector is showing signs of development, but careful look at the statistic reveal that most of these businesses are in a micro industry category and are extremely vulnerable to economic shocks. While the economy of this batik printing is still characterized by low economic profits due to the fact that most batik production in Malaysia is only found in the east coast such as the state of Kelantan, Terengganu and Pahang. Hence, the effort needs tweaking and introduction of new ideas for the thread to thrive. But Malaysian batik are still the one of the most popular textile handicraft and serve as a souvenir for tourists. Indeed, batik has its own product attributes that influence the tourists to acquire them. So we can see that batik printing in Malaysia does not give so much bad impact for the tourism sector in our country. So
Again, thank you for Miss Aishah. Let's move to Sir Rifdi. What do you think about it?
Okay, what can I say? This impact of cultural heritage on the economy and the field of tourism is that the government need to provide financial facilities to traders to make market their product abroad by providing capital and finding marketplace abroad because it will benefit the country when the government takes produce as well as tourists with tourists come to see traditional clothing in museum and shop in interesting tourist spot in the country. That's all.
Thank you, Sir Rifdi. And we move to the last question for today. Miss Aishah, do you wish that this cultural heritage will be practiced by the future generation and why?
indeed, I wish this batik painting will be practiced by the future generation. The reason is that people wearing batik is to show how they do appreciate and belong to a culture because in Malaysia, batik is considered as a national heritage art that is the pride of the country. That's all, Mr. Moderator.
Thanks to Miss Aishah for the great opinion. Next, next to Sir Rifdi, do you think the same as Miss Aishah, and what your opinion about it?
Okay, absolutely yes. I agree with Miss Aisha because it will demonstrate to other countries or other nation the power of our national traditional culture. This is also done to raise awareness in our country about the value of cultural legacies for upcoming generation. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Sir Rifdi. And last but not least, now we hear the idea from Sir Shafiq about the last question.
Okay, thank you again. For me, it is appropriate to practice it. This is because it's a Malaysian culture that can symbolize the identity of our country. Besides that, it is also a tradition left by our ancestors. Therefore, we should dignify batik prints or batik in Malaysia so that our culture is not allowed to be displayed in a museum. As the saying goes, let the children die, don't let the custom die. That's all from me.
Thank you for the information and interesting talk. Well, from what our panelists shared just now, in conclusion, the authorities must provide awareness education to the simple generation so that batik printing does not die out with time, but can even attract the interest of the younger generation to continue to improve our culture. Thanks again to all our panelists today. Finally, we have come to the end of our forum where we have shared a lot of knowledge we don't even know or thought before. For the last from me, a billion thanks I dedicated to our panelists for contribute ideas in the forum today. So thank you guys. Goodbye and assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Right.
Thank you. Waalaikumsalam.